First of all, about myself, my background is PhD from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, the Faculty of Medicine, and I accomplished that in 1996, about 25 years ago. And during the study, I developed actually drug delivery systems, targeted liposomes. And over the year, I served in different biotech companies and expert in diagnostic vaccines, also local delivery and systemic delivery of drugs, and also immunotherapy. Um, in 2008, I was the co-founder of PolyPid. I was the first CEO of PolyPid over the first 3 years, and over the last 10 years, I'm the chief scientific officer in PolyPid. So that's about myself. About PolyPid, PolyPid is a late-stage biopharma company, and we are aiming to dramatically improve surgical outcomes. That's the most important by local delivery. Actually, the slogan of PolyPid is "Go Local," and that's the mission: to go local with any drug to solve unsolved issues in surgeries. And what is our target today is mainly surgical site infections occur in OR, in operation room. And that's the main mission we're dealing with. We believe that's a huge target and a very important one in terms of economic and also to humanity. PolyPid is located in Israel, and our office in Petah Tikva near Tel Aviv, and we have other offices also in New Jersey, in the US. And we have our own GMP facilities also located in Israel. So we are well occupied in order to solve the issue. We are now in phase 3 clinical studies with our lead product, Dplex. And with that, we gained from the FDA also the breakthrough designation, also fast track designations for prevention of infection, SSI. In the US, first of all, the economic burden, as said earlier, I suppose 10 billion economic burden is huge, but it's also about economic, but also a very significant burden from the medical point of view, because actually bacteria is everywhere. That's the issue. Now, when bacteria is everywhere, it's also in the OR, in the operation room. And now when you do a surgery, that means you're exposed to bacteria and with all the related burden, means and the risk. That means you have to protect yourself very, very well. You have to protect the patient and the physician and the situation in order to prevent the bacteria to take over and actually to create infection in the wound. Now that means huge economic burden to the system just because bacteria is there. And that means that when you fail and there is infection, that means, of course, infection, but the related result will be significant morbidity, high cost of treatment, diagnostic, readmissions, hospitalization, and even mortality is very significant. So take it all together, that's the 10 billion burden to the system. First of all, PolyPid developed a system named PLEX, and that stands for Polymer Lipid Encapsulation Matrix. That's the technology that PolyPid is using. Now, the PLEX technology actually enables a very precise and prolonged delivery of any API and any drug in the local site. What you do here is you can localize your treatment directly where it's needed at the site, not in the circulation, but directly in the wound in the case of operation and SSI. And then you can control the release of a drug over prolonged periods. When I'm saying control means I can control, or we can control by the technology, the duration of the treatment, and also the dimension, meaning the concentration of the drug inside the wound. And by that, we can actually prevent the bacteria to grow at the site and help the immune system to eradicate that. With that, we can actually not only overcome the bacteria in general and reduce SSI, but also can overcome resistant bacteria to antibiotics. As you know, that resistant bacteria is a very significant burden. And resistant bacteria, that means actually that the current treatment cannot actually eradicate the bacteria. And why is that? Because now the current solution is systemic treatment. Every patient before surgery get antibiotics, IV antibiotics, about half an hour to 1 hour before surgery. Now, antibiotic cannot penetrate well into the site, into the incision. And why is that? Because first of all, only a small portion will get into the tissue, that's one. And second, most of the antibiotic will not penetrate because of the incision, there is no blood supply. Now, local solution is basically, will be the best solution because now you can bring the antibiotic directly to the site. And that's exactly what we do. And now the high concentration that can be now generate can overcome bacteria that needs high concentration to be eradicated. And that systemic cannot do. So altogether, what we do is local delivery, can overcome bacteria in general in the wound, but also bacteria that will be resistant to antibiotics. And by that, we can reduce significantly the burden of SSI. I believe that very, very significant impact. First of all, about SSI. The PLEX technology allows you to reduce SSI very significantly. And when I'm saying very significantly, it means at least 50% reduction in the rate of SSI. And that's huge, even 60 and 70% according to our clinical studies. And by that, you can reduce, first of all, of course, morbidity, but also economically. That can be very significant. For instance, just as an example, in abdominal surgeries, infection can be 30%. 30% of the patient will suffer from SSI. And now morbidity can be huge because of that. And in sternal infection, another indication, mortality can be as high as 40%. Now think about the reduction of 60 and 70% of this type of burden. That's huge reduction in terms of health, in terms of economic burden. So we believe that this solution, a very simple solution that will be applied during surgery, will be, and during a very short time, several minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, no more needed, and very minimal training, that's sufficient to eradicate huge problem that actually elevated the infection rate, but also the economic burden to the system. For the closing, first of all, we are really excited to participate in such a, I would say, a very, very important issue. You know, we live with bacteria for decades and actually from ever been. And bacteria is everywhere. As said, we are exposed to that all the time. And, you know, we have some quiet years because of the development of antibiotics. And we felt sufficiently protected by antibiotics, but today now resistant bacteria is raising head, and that's a very tough battle against bacteria. And we are participating in this battle, and we believe that we have a tool to win and to allow more safe surgeries. And this is a burden that many are now appreciate. And you know, there is a lot of discussions around the burden of SSI and the significance of that. Also around the COVID-19 situation, the use of huge antibiotics and the elevated number of resistant bacteria. And also, you know, in the context now, they are discussing exactly that, because that's a real epidemic. And we are very happy to participate in that and allow a very simple tool in order to eradicate that, although sufficient to reduce a very significant burden by a very short application. And by that, protecting patients, protecting the healthcare system. You know, a day will come that people will think twice and even 3 times before they'll go to surgery, just because of the risk of infection, because of resistant bacteria. And that will change the game completely. And now with a very efficient tool, it will change the game for sure.